Hey, so things have been busy, just for a change. Um, I've been Pip and I basically knuckled down, got our heads into it, and pretty much worked double shifts for about 3 weeks. And we got the Patreon campaigns launched, both of which I'll put in the doobly doo down below. So that's kind of Deadflicks if you're into kind of horror, and I kind of hope you are if you listen to me talk shit. And it's kind of watch-alongs and behind-the-scenes stuff and all kinds of like crazy crap from our day-to-day watchings and things like that. So we do some reviews. We've kind of launched the podcast, which is fun, and we're just getting into the groove of kind of running that on a day-to-day basis, which is quite cool. And then you've got Pugnacious Press, which is focused primarily, not I don't want to say primarily because it's not the right word for some reason, but it is focused on writing. So not how to write, but more on the fiction and the things that we're creating. So if you sign up for either of those, there's lots of kind of free goodies. And I realize that the use of the word free is a little kind of in the air there. But on Pugnacious Press, you can basically get a look into all of our old vintage notebooks. So we've got scanned stuff. You've got the entire kind of back catalog of my last couple of years of editor Myk notes. So it's notes to myself during my work in progresses of the last 5 years or so, which is quite a hoot and rather uncomfortable to read also. So that's all available for like instant download PDFs, the works. And before I start sounding like an advert here, I'm going to move on. It's pretty much just there's lots of cool shit and lots of updates, and I will link them both in the doobly-doo if that's the kind of thing that you're into. Other than that, I've been pretty much spending most of my time plowing into video and audio editing, which will not come through in this video particularly because by their nature I've decided that I'm going to stop with the crazy production on vlogs and updates and things like that. I'm just going to get them done and I'm going to get them out into the world. So if they help people and if they interest anybody, that's great. But I think that the word of the year is actually kind of frictionless. At least that's what Pip and I have decided on anyway. We are putting together multiple projects, multiple books, running multiple businesses, kicking them off, all the other stuff that goes with it, and the only way that all of these things will happen is if everything we do is as frictionless as possible. So what I'm talking to you on right now is a standard setup of a boom arm mic thing, and that lives next to my desk right now indefinitely. So it doesn't take me any minutes, it doesn't take me any extra time to kind of put this together. I literally just turn the thing on and I hit record and it'll upload just directly from where we're sitting right now, and I'll put a thumbnail on it a little bit later or whatever. So like I said, it's all about frictionless. It's kind of, we've got microphones set up in our recording area, we've got all of anything that we could possibly need in the one place, and that is basically where this whole thing is headed. Other than that, I've read recently, Pip and I are reading the 6th volume in the Sunstone book series, which is lovely. It's basically a BDSM love story. It's a comic book, it's filthy, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, and it's very heartfelt. We've both independently read the first 5 volumes, but we've been kind of picking our way through the 6th one in fractions and kind of late Sunday morning reading sessions and stuff like that. It's really, really good. I thoroughly recommend you check it out if you're into anything that's a little bit filthy and a bit sweet. I read the one about the writing advice from Johnny B. Truant and Sean Platt, which is basically writing advice given through the filter of, what do they call it, of the Friends TV show, which is quite cool too. Totally gonna reread that. I got a lot of really useful kind of ideas and terminologies and things like that. And presently I'm rereading Sol Stein's On Writing, which I read about 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm kind of taking a lot more of it in now because I think I'm more ready. Like, I'm past my kind of noob status. I'm still a noob, but I'm not quite as newbie as I as I used to be, which really does make a difference. I thought, I'm trying to remember what the name of the book is. I'll just look it up right now. It was Ruby Wax's No Brainer series, which I picked up on Audible, which was really, really fun. It's done in kind of an episodic format, and I learned a lot about kind of brains and psychology and anxiety and all the other kind of coping mechanisms and shit that we do, which has been really nice. And what else have I been up to? There was one other book that I wanted to recommend. I'm going to give you some advice from the Sol Steins on writing that I've taken down, because I think that I made a few notes yesterday while I was listening through to it. There've been a couple of other books. Apparently not. It's mostly been Skillshare, to be honest. Skillshare and Masterclass. I've been listening to the Neil Gaiman Masterclass course. Is it a course? It doesn't feel like a course. It feels like spending time with him and getting advice and, you know, kind of having a couple of drinks with him. That's kind of how the Masterclass thing feels. Yeah, so that's pretty much about it. It's just been a case of like wake up, work some more, pass out on the couch, peel self off couch, go to bed, and repeat. So it's long-term, things are going to kind of wind down a little bit, and things are going to get a little quiet. Well, not quiet, but, you know, we're starting to get into a groove. So I'll link all the stuff that I was talking about earlier in the doobly-doo, but I'm going to leave you with a couple of thoughts on stories. Basically, one of the main points that has come up so far in the Sol Stein book is that a writer deals with the unspoken. So it's specifically the things that are kind of below the surface that everybody kind of thinks about quietly, but nobody ever really puts into words, which I thought was a really interesting insight. Also, another thing that these are just kind of one-liners that I've got down, that just to reiterate to anybody who's kind of that way inclined, the writing must do the work. So, you know how kind of people will say, oh, but you must understand that I was feeling like this, when they get kind of criticized about what they've written or about their prose or anything like that, and they start trying to validate it through a filter of something. Work needs to be its own thing, so it needs to say everything it needs to say on its own, without context, without you there to kind of explain it just correctly or to frame it. It needs to frame itself, it needs to tell the story, and it needs to make its own conclusions. What else did I have on here? Start with a scene that a reader can see. So kind of, it was talking about opening lines, the like, and the way that you want to basically begin your stories with a visual aspect. So something cinematic, I suppose. You want to basically hook people from the get-go, and if you can't do that, if you don't kind of catch people on the first page, you're never going to catch them. So you can't wait until page 10 to, what he was calling, turn on the story engine. You need to bring the story engine in as soon as humanly possible, because that's the bit that's going to bring people in. That's the bit, shut up, fat bit. That's my alarm on the Fitbit. I think that's pretty much what I'm gonna leave you guys with. So just to retrace, writer deals with the unspoken, the writing must do the work, and start with a scene that the reader can see. So good first lines, good opening paragraphs. You've got to basically twist intrigue and just pepper in enough intrigue to keep them on the hook and keep them running. Otherwise, I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll catch you later.